My parents secretly took out a $150,000 loan in my name to fund my spoiled sister's wedding, and they didn't even tell me. When I confronted them, they said it was my duty as family. But after reading the loan terms, I found a way to make them regret every bit of it. I, 33 male, recently received a phone call from the bank for identity verification for a loan of $150,000, which was strange because I hadn't applied for one. That's how I ended up finding out that my parents had taken a huge loan to fund my golden child sister's dream wedding. Let me be clear. My sister and I have never been close, and she's always been a spoiled brat. I would say it's all my parents' fault, but honestly, she's in her late 20s now and has had enough time to change. She just hasn't bothered. We stopped speaking a couple of years ago and haven't stayed in touch since. Occasionally, when we meet at family gatherings, we try to avoid each other because we never got along in the past, and that's unlikely to change now. So, it was all the more insulting that my parents decided to take out a loan and falsify documents stating that I would become a co-signer for it, especially considering I wasn't even invited to the wedding they were planning to fund with this loan. My sister has been with her fiancé for 2 years, and they got engaged a couple of months ago. I knew I wasn't going to be invited, so I didn't think much about it, and my parents didn't speak to me about it either. But last week, when I received that phone call from the bank, I caught my parents in a lie and confronted them. Initially, I was willing to believe it might have been a misunderstanding, that the phone call wasn't meant for me. But that was wishful thinking. As soon as I confronted my parents, they admitted to it. Not only did they admit it, but they also told me that as her brother, I should be looking forward to contributing to the wedding in any way I could, because it was my duty as family. They explained they had looked at their finances and realized they couldn't fund the entire wedding, which my sister had requested. But they didn't have the heart to decline her one request, so they thought it best to take out a loan. Since they needed a co-signer, they decided to use me because I had a good credit score. They justified not contacting me by saying they knew I wasn't on good terms with my sister, and asking for my help would alert me to their plans. They feared I wouldn't agree to co-sign. So, they forged my signature and used my personal details to apply for the loan, assuming I'd find out too late. However, they hadn't counted on the bank needing personal verification before approving the application. That's where they messed up. After finding out what they did, I was furious. I told them I'd make sure they paid for it. They tried to justify everything by saying they couldn't let my sister down because this was the one thing she wanted. Honestly, my sister has wanted many things in the past, and my parents have never said no to her. It's not just about the wedding, it's about their inability to decline anything she wants, even at the cost of their dignity. Both my sister and her fiancé are working, and from what I know, they can definitely afford a decent wedding on their own. Maybe it wouldn't be the dream wedding my sister planned, but at least they wouldn't have to depend heavily on my parents. I can't even fully blame my sister because my parents could have just said no, telling her they need to plan for life after retirement. That's what her in-laws did, and her fiancé is still in touch with them. But as soon as they dragged me into the situation, it became about me as well, and that's what I wasn't okay with. I told my parents I was going to sue them and would be talking to my lawyer. At first, they insisted it was my duty as family, but when they realized I was serious about my threats, they started begging me not to do anything too harsh. My mother started sobbing, her usual go-to move when things don't go her way. My father, however, told me that as part of the family, it was my duty to stand by my sister and my parents when they needed me. He also said that since my sister had just gotten engaged, if I followed through with my threats, it would reflect badly on the family. This was a stupid argument because it felt like he didn't care about committing a crime, he only cared about how it would affect my sister. So, I hung up after telling them I was definitely going no contact and would be taking this to court. They had to be prepared for the consequences. After that phone call, I spoke to the bank and requested a copy of the loan terms to find out what was going on before talking to my lawyer. Before reading the loan terms, I planned on going no contact with my family but not going public with what happened. However, after reading them, I decided to ensure everyone found out what kind of people they were. One clause in the loan stated that all the borrowed money would have to be returned within 2 years. That was an issue because I had been telling my parents for 6 months that I was planning to start a business and quit my job once I secured investors. They knew I'd need money for myself and still made me co-signer of a huge loan, not caring whether it would affect my plans. If they defaulted on just one payment, I'd be responsible for the money. They didn't even ask for my consent before signing me up for something like this. I snapped. After reading the loan terms, I called my lawyer and then logged onto Facebook. Here's where I might have gone too far. I found my sister's fiancé's account through her profile, typed out a message explaining everything, and suggested he ask my sister if she knew what was going on. I also warned him to reconsider the engagement because my family is not trustworthy. I sent the same message to his parents and tagged several people in family photos so everyone would know what my parents did. If I'm being honest, I believe my sister knew about it, which is why I reached out to her fiancé and his family. As expected, things went very wrong for my family. You can watch the second part by pressing share and more.